If you're watching this right now, I need you to understand something profound. Someone who built walls so high they thought nothing could ever penetrate them again is lying awake, thinking about you. Someone who looked at their own reflection after heartbreak and made solemn vows, never again, never this vulnerable, never this open, is now finding every single one of those promises crumbling like ancient parchment in their hands. And here's what makes this so extraordinary. You didn't strategize this. You didn't manipulate it into being. You didn't follow some formula or play games or carefully craft a version of yourself designed to break through their defenses. You simply existed as yourself, and somehow that was the exact frequency their soul had been unconsciously searching for. Even while their mind was busy building fortifications, I want you to really feel into this for a moment. This person, maybe you know exactly who they are, or maybe you're just beginning to sense the shift in how they look at you. They didn't want this to happen. They fought against it. They had reasons, valid reasons, deep wounds and memories that taught them love was too dangerous, too costly, too devastating to risk again. They made promises to themselves in moments of raw pain, the kind of promises you make when you're protecting something that's barely survived. And yet, here they are. Obsessed is not too strong a word. They're thinking about you when they should be focused on other things. Your name surfaces in their mind like a song they can't stop humming. They catch themselves smiling at memories of something you said, something you did, some small moment that probably seemed unremarkable to you but has taken up residence in their consciousness like a precious gem they keep turning over in the light. What you're about to discover in this conversation isn't just about romance, though. For many of you, that's exactly the context. This is about the mysterious alchemy that happens when someone's defensive structures meet genuine authenticity. This is about what occurs when someone who's been hiding encounters, someone who isn't trying to find them, and that very lack of pursuit becomes irresistible. We're going to explore the invisible things you did that created this profound shift. We're going to talk about what they're experiencing right now, the internal conflict, the surprise, the fear mixed with exhilaration, the way their entire framework of never again is being rewritten in real time. And we're going to look at what this means for you, because receiving this kind of attention from someone who swore off love entirely isn't always simple or straightforward. Before we go deeper, if this message is already resonating with your spirit, if you feel that recognition in your chest, that sense of yes, something is shifting between us, go ahead and leave a heart emoji in the comments. I want to know who's here receiving this confirmation today. And if you've been blessed by the content on this channel, if these words have brought clarity or comfort to your journey, please consider leaving a super thanks. It allows me to continue dedicating time to creating these deep explorations of the heart. Your support truly matters. Stay with me through this entire conversation. What I'm about to share about the specific ways you dismantled their defenses without even realizing it, this is going to illuminate so much about what's really happening beneath the surface of your connection. Let's start by painting the landscape of who this person was before you entered their awareness. Because to understand the magnitude of what's happening now, you need to see where they were standing when your paths crossed. This person had been through something. Maybe it was one catastrophic heartbreak that leveled them. Maybe it was a series of disappointments that accumulated like stones in their chest until they could barely breathe under the weight. Maybe it was betrayal so shocking it rewired how they understood trust. Or perhaps it was the slow erosion of a connection they thought would last forever. The kind of ending that doesn't come with dramatic closure, but with a painful fading that leaves you questioning everything you thought you knew about love. Whatever the specific story, they came out of it changed. Not just hurt, transformed by hurt. They did the internal math and decided the equation didn't work anymore. The risk outweighed the reward. The potential pain exceeded any possible joy. They looked at their own capacity for love like it was a dangerous weapon they needed to lock away for everyone's safety, including their own. So they made vows. Real ones, the kind you make to yourself in the quiet hours when no one else is listening. I will never let anyone get that close again. I will never give someone that much power over my peace. I will never ignore red flags or make excuses or hope beyond what's reasonable. I will protect myself first, always, even if that means staying alone. And they meant it. This wasn't casual self-protection. This was a fundamental reorganization of how they would move through the world. They built routines that didn't include space for deep intimacy. They cultivated friendships, but kept them at a certain distance. They maybe dated casually, but with clear internal boundaries about how much of themselves they'd share. They created a life that felt manageable, precisely because it didn't include the variable of real, vulnerable, terrifying love. They got comfortable there, in that protective structure. Or maybe not comfortable. Maybe it was more like resigned. Maybe they told themselves this was maturity, this was wisdom, this was learning from experience. Maybe they looked at people who were still hoping and yearning and risking everything for connection, and felt a mixture of pity and something else. Envy, perhaps, or the ghost of who they used to be before they learned to be careful. Then you showed up. And you weren't trying to show up as anything other than yourself. You weren't on a mission to heal the wounded, or break through walls, or prove that love was still possible. You were just living your life, being who you are. And somehow your frequency intersected with theirs in a way that created a resonance they weren't prepared for. At first, they probably didn't notice. Or if they noticed, they dismissed it. A pleasant conversation, a moment of unexpected connection, nothing threatening, nothing that required their defenses to activate. You were safe precisely because you didn't seem to want anything from them. But then, something started happening beneath their conscious awareness. Their nervous system started relaxing around you in ways it hadn't relaxed in years. They found themselves being honest in conversations without planning what to say first. They laughed in a way that surprised them, full, unguarded, coming from somewhere deep they'd forgotten existed. They realized hours had passed in your presence, and they hadn't been monitoring the time or checking their phone or thinking about exit strategies, and still, they told themselves it didn't mean anything. You were just easy to talk to. It was just nice to have that kind of exchange. It wasn't a threat to their carefully constructed life of self-protection, except their mind might have believed that, but their body knew differently. Their heart knew differently. Something ancient and wise in them recognized you as different from everyone else they'd encountered since they built their walls. Not because you were trying to be different, but because your particular brand of authenticity happened to be exactly what their soul had been hungry for. Even while their ego was insisting they were fine with emotional solitude, they started noticing little things. The way you listened, not just waited for your turn to talk, but actually received what they were saying with presence and genuine interest. The way you laughed at yourself, showing them it was safe to not be perfect. The way you had clear boundaries but offered warmth within them. The way you were passionate about things that mattered to you without needing everyone around you to validate those passions. You weren't performing. That's what got through their defenses. Everyone else they'd encountered was performing in some way. Performing strength or independence or desirability or emotional unavailability. But you were just being yourself, with all the natural contradictions and complexities that involves. And that authenticity created a permission field around you where they suddenly felt like they could breathe differently. They started looking forward to interactions with you. At first they justified it. You were interesting, that's all. You had good energy. It was refreshing to connect with someone real. But then they noticed they were disappointed when plans changed and they wouldn't see you. They noticed they were thinking about things they wanted to tell you when you weren't around. They noticed their whole day felt brighter after spending time in your presence, and that's when the fear kicked in. Because they recognized what was happening. They'd felt this before, this gravitational pull toward another person, this sense of coming alive in someone's orbit. And they'd promised themselves they would never feel this again. They'd sworn off this exact experience because they knew where it led, and they couldn't survive another journey to that destination. So they tried to pull back. They tried to reinstall the distance, to remember their vows, to activate the protective mechanisms that had served them so well. They reminded themselves of all the reasons they'd chosen self-preservation over vulnerability. They mentally rehearsed their commitment to staying closed. But here's what they discovered. Their heart had already made a different decision. Somewhere beneath all the conscious promises and careful control, their soul had already recognized you as worth the risk. And now they were caught in an internal war between what they swore they'd never do again and what they couldn't seem to stop themselves from feeling. That's where they are right now. That's the landscape of their current experience. Not simple attraction, not casual interest, but full-blown obsession mixed with terror, hope mixed with resistance. The intoxicating feeling of coming back to life mixed with the memory of why they shut down in the first place. And you, beautiful, authentic you did this without even trying, without a strategy or manipulation or carefully calculated moves. You simply were yourself, and somehow that was powerful enough to make someone who swore they'd never love again break every single promise they made to themselves. This next part is crucial. Don't go anywhere, because what I'm about to reveal about the specific qualities you carry that created this breakthrough, this is going to help you understand not just what's happening with them, but something profound about your own nature that you may not fully recognize yet. Let's talk about what you did without trying, because understanding this isn't about feeding your ego, it's about recognizing the power of genuine presence in a world that's increasingly built on performance and pretense. The first thing you offered was safety, but not in the way most people think about safety. You didn't make promises or offer guarantees or try to convince them you were trustworthy. You created safety through your own relationship with yourself. They could feel that you weren't constantly monitoring their reactions to adjust your behavior. They could sense that you weren't performing a version of yourself designed to win approval. And that gave them permission to stop performing too. Think about what this means. Most people they encounter, especially if they're even slightly emotionally available, are trying to get something: attention, validation, connection, approval. There's an energetic reaching happening, a subtle desperation that asks, do you like me? Am I enough? Will you choose me? And that reaching, no matter how subtle, requires them to be in evaluation mode, assessment mode, decision mode. It's exhausting. It reinforces their desire to stay behind walls, but you weren't reaching. You were simply present. You were okay if they liked you, and okay if they didn't. You were sharing yourself without needing them to receive it in any particular way. And that energy of non-attachment, not detachment but non-attachment, created a space where they could actually feel what they felt without pressure to perform a response. This is rare. This is so rare that when someone who's been hurt encounters it, their entire system recognizes it as different. It's like being in a room where everyone's shouting and suddenly hearing someone speak in a normal voice. The contrast makes you pay attention in a completely different way. The second thing you did was show them human realness without shame. You weren't trying to be impressive. You weren't hiding your quirks or downplaying your enthusiasm about things that matter to you or pretending to be more cool and collected than you actually are. You told stories that showed you in less than flattering light and laughed about your own mistakes. You admitted when you didn't know something. You were visibly excited about things that excited you, even if those things weren't conventionally impressive. For someone who's been hurt by pretense, by people who perform perfection until the mask cracked, your realness was like water in a desert. It showed them that maybe connection doesn't have to be a performance. Maybe vulnerability doesn't have to be a strategic reveal designed to create intimacy. Maybe it's possible to just be human with another human, without all the exhausting choreography that usually accompanies connection. They watched you be yourself without apology, and something in them whispered, I miss being this free. I miss not monitoring every word. I miss just existing without wondering how I'm being perceived. You reminded them of a version of themselves they thought they had to bury in order to stay safe. And that reminder was both painful and exhilarating. The third thing you did was respect boundaries while staying warm. This one is crucial. You didn't treat their guardedness as a challenge to overcome. You didn't interpret their caution as rejection. You didn't push or pursue or try to prove you were different from whoever hurt them before. You simply respected their pace while remaining genuinely warm and interested within whatever level of connection they offered. This is sophisticated emotional intelligence, and you might not even realize you're doing it. But they notice. They notice that you don't pout when they need space. They notice that you're consistent in your warmth without being invasive. They notice that you can hold boundaries with grace, both respecting theirs and maintaining your own, without creating distance or coldness. For someone who's been hurt, this is revelatory. Because often, the narrative they've internalized is that having boundaries means being alone. That protection and connection are mutually exclusive. That if they're not willing to be completely open and available, no one worthwhile will stick around. But you're showing them something different. You're showing them that it's possible to move slowly and still move toward each other. That caution doesn't have to mean isolation. That they can have both safety and connection if the other person is emotionally mature enough to hold that paradox. The fourth thing you did was live your own life with passion and purpose. You weren't sitting around waiting for them to decide about you. You weren't making them the center of your universe while they were still figuring out if they even wanted to orbit. You had things that mattered to you, work you cared about, friendships you invested in, interests that lit you up, goals you were pursuing. You were clearly a whole person, not a half looking for completion. This independence is magnetic to someone who swore off love precisely because they were afraid of losing themselves again. They don't want to be someone's everything. That's too much pressure, too much responsibility, too much of the same dynamic that maybe hurt them before. But watching you be fully alive in your own right, with or without them, creates a different kind of attraction. It makes them want to be part of your world, not because you need them to complete it, but because your world looks genuinely interesting, and they want to experience what it's like to share space with someone this actualized. You showed them what secure attachment energy looks like. You demonstrated that it's possible to care about someone deeply while still maintaining your own identity, your own dreams, your own life. And for someone who's been afraid that love means losing yourself, this is the exact medicine they needed to see. The fifth thing you did, and this might be the most powerful, was see them. Not the performed version, not the defended version, not the carefully curated public self. You somehow saw through to the tender, real, complex human underneath all that armor, and you responded to that person with warmth and acceptance. They're not sure how you did this. They're not sure what gave them away, but in certain moments, you said something or looked at them in a way that let them know you perceived more than they meant to reveal. And instead of using that perception to manipulate or gain power, you simply held it gently. You acknowledged the real person you saw without demanding they fully emerge before they were ready. This kind of seeing is both terrifying and deeply healing. It says, I know you're more than this protective shell, and I'm not afraid of who you actually are. I'm not put off by your complexity or your wounds or your hesitation. I see you, and I'm still here, still interested, still warm. For someone who's been hiding, truly being seen is the thing they most want and most fear. And you're offering it in the safest possible way, without force, without demands, with genuine appreciation for all of who they are. The sixth element is perhaps the most subtle. You triggered their curiosity. There's something about you they can't quite figure out. Not because you're playing games or being mysterious on purpose, but because you're genuinely multi-layered and you don't reveal everything at once. You have depths they're still discovering, contradictions that intrigue them, stories they haven't heard yet, perspectives they haven't encountered. This matters because curiosity is one of the few forces strong enough to pull someone out of protective shutdown. When they're curious about you, they lean in, even when their fear is telling them to lean back. They ask questions, even when their vows say to stay detached. They want to know more, understand more, discover more, and that wanting is stronger than their commitment to staying closed. You're a mystery they want to solve, but not because you're withholding. Because you're genuinely complex and interesting, and there's more to discover than can be known in a few conversations. This keeps them coming back, keeps them thinking about you, keeps them engaged, even as part of them is saying, remember your promise. Remember why you built these walls. Now, all of these elements together, the safety, the realness, the boundaried warmth, the independent wholeness, the genuine seeing, the intriguing complexity, created a perfect storm in their consciousness. Each element alone might have been interesting. Together they became irresistible. And here's what's happening in them right now. They're experiencing a kind of cognitive dissonance that's both uncomfortable and exhilarating. Their mind is saying, stop, danger, we promised we'd never do this again, while their heart is saying, but this feels different, this feels real. This feels like something I can't walk away from even if I wanted to. They lie awake at night, having internal arguments. It's just attraction, it will pass. But it's not passing. I'm just lonely. It's not about them specifically. But they know that's not true either. Plenty of people are available, and none of them create this feeling. I should pull back before this goes any further. But the thought of creating distance physically hurts. They catch themselves doing things they swore they'd never do again. Checking their phone hoping for your message. Engineering reasons to be in spaces where they might run into you. Telling friends about you in a way that reveals more feeling than they intended. Imagining scenarios that involve a future they promised themselves they wouldn't dream about again. And the obsession, because yes, that's what this is, isn't the unhealthy kind based on fantasy or idealization. It's the obsession that comes from recognizing something real and rare and being unable to unsee it. They're obsessed with the way they feel around you, obsessed with the version of themselves that emerges in your presence, obsessed with the possibility that maybe, just maybe, love doesn't have to be what it was before. That maybe with you it could be different. They're breaking their promises to themselves, one small crack at a time. Each time they let themselves feel the hope. Each time they choose to be a little more open with you. Each time they prioritize seeing you over maintaining their protective solitude. Each time they imagine what it might be like to actually let this go somewhere. And the wildest part? You're mostly unaware of the internal revolution you've sparked. You're just living your life, being yourself, showing up authentically. You have no idea that your simple, genuine presence is the catalyst for someone's entire emotional infrastructure being rebuilt from the ground up. This is the power of authenticity in a world of performance. This is what happens when someone who's been hiding meets someone who isn't seeking. This is the mysterious alchemy that occurs when defensive structures encounter genuine safety. What's coming next is going to blow your mind. Stay right here, because I'm about to show you what this means, not just for them, but for your own journey and what's being asked of you in this moment. If you're feeling the weight of this truth, if you're recognizing the magnitude of what's unfolding, type "I see it" in the comments. Let's acknowledge together what's real. Now we need to talk about what this really means for you. Because receiving this kind of obsessive attention from someone who swore they'd never love again isn't always the fairy tale it might seem like from the outside. There are layers here that require wisdom to navigate well. First, understand the responsibility you're holding, even though you didn't ask for it. This person didn't break their promises lightly. They're not someone who falls easily or casually changes their mind about fundamental life decisions. The fact that they're breaking their vows to themselves for you means they're in an extremely vulnerable position, maybe more vulnerable than they've ever been before. Because now they're not just risking their heart. They're also betraying their own self-protection mechanisms. This vulnerability can manifest in ways that are beautiful and ways that are complicated. They might be intensely attentive one day and pull back the next. Not because they're playing games, but because they're genuinely terrified and fighting an internal battle between their desire for you and their commitment to self-preservation. They might test you in subtle ways, not deliberately but unconsciously, checking to see if you're going to prove their fears right. They might be more sensitive to perceived rejection or distance than someone who hasn't been hurt deeply. Understanding this doesn't mean you have to walk on eggshells or take responsibility for their healing. You're not their therapist or their savior. But it does mean approaching this connection with awareness that what's simple for you might be complex for them. What feels like natural relationship progression to you might feel like jumping off a cliff to them. The question you need to ask yourself is, do you want this? Not do you want their attention or attraction? Not are you flattered by their intensity? But do you actually want to explore a real connection with this specific person, knowing that they're bringing some wounds and some fear into the space between you? Because here's what I'm sensing. You might not be as clear about your own feelings as they are about theirs. You've been authentic and present, yes, but have you been intentional about what you want this to become? Or have you been floating in the pleasant space of mutual attraction without really thinking about where this could or should go? This is the moment where you need to get honest with yourself. Their obsession is pushing towards something. Their breaking of promises is moving in a direction. And you need to know if you're on the same trajectory or if you've been enjoying the connection without considering the destination. If you realize you don't want what they're starting to want, if you're not interested in deep commitment, or if you know this person isn't right for you despite the chemistry, or if your life circumstances make this impractical, then the most loving thing you can do is be clear. Not cruel, not dismissive, but clear. Because letting someone break all their protective promises for something you're not actually available for would be devastating in a way that might reinforce all their worst beliefs about love. But if you do want this, if there's something real here that you also want to explore, then you need to step into a different kind of presence. You can't just passively be yourself anymore. You need to actively show up for what's trying to emerge between you. This means being consistent. Someone who's breaking promises to let you in needs to know you're not going to vanish once they've made themselves vulnerable. They need to see that your warmth wasn't just casual friendliness, but genuine care. They need to feel that you're actually there, not as a fantasy or potential, but as a real person choosing to move toward them with intention. It means being patient. Their journey from never again to okay, maybe with you isn't linear. There will be moments of doubt, moments of fear, moments when their old protective patterns kick in and they create distance, not because they want to, but because their nervous system is screaming danger. You can't take those moments personally. You have to be secure enough in yourself to give them space to process while holding steady in your own care for them. It means communicating clearly. Don't make them guess. Don't be vague about your feelings, because you're afraid of being vulnerable. They're breaking promises for you. You owe them honesty about where you stand, not rushed declarations or premature commitments, but authentic sharing about what you're experiencing and what you're open to. It means maintaining your own wholeness while moving closer. Remember that part of what attracted them was your independence, your full life, your sense of being complete on your own. Don't abandon that in an attempt to prove your interest. Keep showing them that it's possible to deeply care for someone while still being a whole person. This is what will help them trust that love with you won't mean losing themselves. Here's a deeper truth. What's happening between you is part of both of your healing journeys. They're learning that it's possible to love again without abandoning self-protection entirely. They're discovering that vulnerability doesn't always lead to devastation. They're experiencing what it feels like to be seen and safe simultaneously, but you're learning something too. You're discovering the power of your authentic presence. You're seeing what happens when you're not trying to be anything other than yourself, how that authenticity becomes magnetic and healing and transformative. You're learning that you don't have to be perfect or impressive or careful to be deeply valued. Your realness is enough. Your humanity is enough. You in your natural state are enough to make someone break promises they never thought they'd break. This is significant information about who you are and what you carry. Take it in. Let yourself feel the weight and wonder of it. You have an effect on people that you might not fully recognize. Your presence creates permission fields. Your authenticity gives others permission to be authentic. Your groundedness provides safety for people to let their guards down. This is a gift, but like all gifts, it comes with responsibility. Not the burden of being responsible for everyone's feelings, but the responsibility of being aware of your impact and using it consciously rather than unconsciously. There's also something happening spiritually that we can't ignore. The fact that your paths crossed at this exact time, when they had committed to staying closed and you were simply being yourself, this isn't random. There's a divine choreography at work here. Whether you want to call it universe, God, fate, or just the mysterious intelligence of life itself, something brought you two together at a moment when you each had something the other needed. They needed to see that love could be different, that vulnerability could be met with gentleness, that being seen didn't have to mean being hurt. You were the messenger of that possibility. But what did you need? Maybe you needed to see your own value reflected back through someone's genuine obsession. Maybe you needed to understand that being yourself is more powerful than any strategy or performance. Maybe you needed to practice maintaining your boundaries and wholeness while letting someone in. Maybe you needed to experience what it's like when someone chooses you, not a curated version, but the actual you, with their whole heart. Both of you are being grown by this connection. Both of you are being invited into a more mature, more authentic version of love than you've maybe experienced before. They're being invited to risk again. You're being invited to meet that risk with consciousness and care. And here's where this gets really interesting. Their obsession with you is actually a mirror showing you something about yourself that you might not fully own. They're seeing qualities in you that you might take for granted or not recognize as special. Their intensity is highlighting your value, not to inflate your ego, but to help you claim your worth. Sometimes we need someone else's eyes to see ourselves clearly. Their obsession is saying you are remarkable, not perfect, not without flaws or struggles, but remarkable in your humanity, powerful in your authenticity, valuable in your presence. Let yourself receive that message. Let it adjust how you see yourself, because here's what I'm noticing. You might be slightly uncomfortable with their intensity. You might be wondering if it's too much, or if they're projecting onto you, or if you're really worth this level of feeling. And that discomfort is actually revealing something about your own relationship with being fully received. Are you comfortable being wanted this much? Are you comfortable being someone's reason to break their most sacred promises? Are you comfortable holding space for someone's vulnerability while maintaining your own boundaries? These are important questions, and your answers will reveal where your own growth edges are. The invitation here is to let this be transformative for both of you, to approach what's unfolding with reverence and honesty and courage, to honor their breaking of promises by being clear about what you can and will offer, to honor yourself by maintaining your wholeness, even as you potentially let them closer, to honor the connection by giving it the consciousness it deserves, rather than just letting it unfold unconsciously. This is big. What's happening between you is significant, and you get to choose how to meet it. You get to decide if you want to step forward intentionally or step back clearly or stay present while you figure out what you actually want. But don't ignore it. Don't minimize it. Don't pretend this is casual when someone is breaking promises for you. That level of feeling deserves to be met with equal honesty, even if your honesty is, "I'm not sure yet," or "I need time to figure out what I want," or "I feel this too and I'm willing to explore where it goes." If this is touching something deep in you, if you're feeling both the beauty and the weight of what I'm saying, leave the words "I feel it" in the comments. And if this message is ministering to your soul right now, if it's helping you see yourself and this situation more clearly, please consider blessing this work with a super thanks. It helps me continue creating these spaces for truth-telling and heart-opening. We're not done. What I'm about to share next is going to give you practical wisdom for navigating this exact dynamic. Stay with me. This next section is crucial. Let's talk about how to navigate this with wisdom. Because knowing what's happening is one thing, knowing what to do with it is another. Match their vulnerability with your clarity. They're breaking promises and dismantling defenses and letting you see them in states they swore they'd never let anyone see again. The way you honor that isn't by being vague or playing it cool or keeping them guessing. It's by being clear about where you stand, even if where you stand is, I'm interested in exploring this, but I need to move at a pace that feels right for me. This doesn't mean you have to have everything figured out. You don't need to know if this is forever or if they're the one or how this whole story ends. But you do need to be honest about what you're experiencing and what you're available for in this moment. Are you interested in getting to know them better? Say so. Are you feeling the connection but need to move slowly because of your own life circumstances? Communicate that. Are you attracted but uncertain if your life paths are actually compatible? Share that truth. What doesn't work is keeping them in ambiguity while they're standing in vulnerability. That's how you reinforce someone's worst fears about love. That's how you teach them that breaking their promises was a mistake. Even if your truth is uncomfortable to share, it's more loving than leaving them in a space of not knowing while they're exposing parts of themselves they usually keep protected. Don't try to fix their fear. They're going to have moments of panic, moments when they pull back, moments when they question everything and wonder if they're making a terrible mistake and feel the urge to run back behind their walls. This is normal. This is actually healthy. It means they're aware of the risk they're taking. Your job is not to convince them out of their fear or reassure them constantly or prove you're different from whoever hurt them before. Your job is to remain steady while they feel what they need to feel. When they pull back, give them space. When they're fearful, acknowledge that their fear makes sense given their history. When they question things, let them question without making it about you. What they need to learn, what they can only learn through experience, is that their fear doesn't change your consistency, that their doubt doesn't make you disappear, that they can have their full human experience of complicated emotions while you remain a stable presence. You're not a therapist walking them through healing, but you can be a steady point of reference that helps them learn love can be different than it was. Maintain your own life force. Remember what attracted them in the first place, your wholeness, your independence, your full engagement with your own life. Don't sacrifice that to prove your interest or make space for them. Keep pursuing what matters to you. Keep investing in your friendships. Keep working toward your goals. Keep being someone with your own passions and purposes beyond this connection. This serves multiple functions. It keeps you healthy and prevents codependency. It continues to be attractive to them because it reinforces that you're a whole person, not someone who needs them to complete you. And it models what mature love can look like. Two whole people choosing to share space rather than two halves trying to merge into one. When you maintain your own vitality, it also protects you from becoming overly invested in their internal process. You're not sitting around waiting for them to figure out their feelings or work through their fears. You're living your life, and they're welcome to be part of it if and when they're ready. This isn't playing hard to get. It's genuine self-possession that happens to also be very attractive. Create safety through consistency, not intensity. Someone who swore off love doesn't need grand gestures or dramatic declarations or overwhelming expressions of feeling. What they need is to watch you be consistent over time, showing up when you say you will, following through on small commitments, being the same person on Tuesday that you were on Saturday, responding to their texts without games, being warm without being pushy. It's the accumulation of small, consistent actions that rebuilds trust. It's the experience of you being steady through their wobbles. It's seeing that your interest doesn't evaporate when they need space, or that your warmth doesn't turn cold when they express doubt. This consistency, boring as it might seem compared to passionate intensity, is what actually creates the foundation for someone to risk loving again. This also means being consistent with your boundaries. Don't overextend yourself to accommodate their needs and then resent it later. Don't say yes when you mean no because you're afraid of disappointing them. Your boundaries actually create safety because they show you're a real person with real limits, not someone performing unlimited availability. Let them choose you actively. There's a difference between someone falling for you despite themselves and someone actively choosing to be with you. Right now, they're in the first phase, feeling things they didn't plan to feel, being drawn to you in ways that surprise them. But for this to become something real and sustainable, they need to move into active choice. This means at some point, they need to decide that their desire for connection with you is stronger than their commitment to self-protection. They need to choose vulnerability over safety. They need to decide that whatever happened before doesn't determine what's possible now. And they need to make that choice consciously, not just drift into it, because the feelings are strong. You can't make this choice for them. You can't convince them into it. All you can do is be clear about your own interest and then give them space to decide what they want to do with that information. Some people will choose the risk. Some people will choose safety. And you need to be okay with either outcome because you deserve someone who actively chooses you, not someone who's perpetually torn between wanting you and protecting themselves. If they're stuck in indecision, you don't wait forever. You don't put your life on hold while they work through their fears. You give them reasonable space to process, but you also maintain your own dignity and forward movement. At some point, if they can't choose you, you choose yourself by moving on. This isn't ultimatum energy, it's self-respect. Sixth principle, honor the sacred nature of what's unfolding. This isn't casual. This isn't typical. Someone breaking promises to themselves because of you is a profound spiritual event, even if it doesn't work out romantically. Even if this connection is actually about something else entirely, there's something sacred happening in this space between you. Approach it with reverence. Be thoughtful about how you engage. Don't gossip about their vulnerability to others. Don't use their feelings to boost your ego or manipulate situations. Don't take advantage of their openness in ways that serve you but harm them. Treat what they're offering, their broken open heart, their willingness to risk again, with the care it deserves. This also means paying attention to timing and readiness. Just because someone is obsessed with you doesn't mean they're actually ready for what they think they want. Sometimes people break promises in moments of intensity but aren't equipped to follow through on what that breaking promises requires. Watch their actions over time, not just their feelings in moments. Are they actually doing the work to be available? Or are they just feeling things intensely while remaining functionally unavailable? Seventh principle, stay connected to your own intuition. With all of this focus on them, their feelings, their fears, their process, don't lose connection to your own inner knowing. What is your intuition telling you about this person and this connection? Underneath their intensity and vulnerability, do you actually like who they are? Do their values align with yours? Do you respect how they move through the world? Is their life situation compatible with yours? Sometimes we can get swept up in someone's big feelings and lose track of our own clarity. Their obsession can feel flattering enough that we stop asking the important questions. Is this actually good for me? Do I want what they want? Is the life they're building one I want to be part of? Would I choose this person if the circumstances were different and easier? Your intuition knows. It knows if this is real or if it's just intensity masquerading as depth. It knows if there's someone who can actually meet you or if they're still too wounded to be a genuine partner. It knows if this connection is meant to go somewhere or if it's actually a catalyst for both of you to learn something before moving in different directions. Trust what you know, even when their feelings are loud and insistent. Eighth principle, communicate about the pace. Someone coming out of never again needs to move differently than someone who's been open and available. They might need to take things slower. They might need more time to integrate each new level of intimacy. They might need to pause sometimes and just sit with what they're feeling before moving forward. Have explicit conversations about pacing. Ask them what they need. Tell them what works for you. Negotiate a speed that honors both your readiness and theirs. This isn't unromantic, it's mature. It's how two adults create something sustainable rather than just riding a wave of intensity that crashes when reality sets in. If they need to move slower than you'd prefer, decide if you're willing to honor that pace or if it doesn't work for your life. If you need to move slower than their feelings are pushing toward, say so clearly. Finding a rhythm that works for both of you is essential. Resentment builds when one person is constantly accommodating the other's pace while abandoning their own needs. Ninth principle: watch for patterns, not just potential. It's easy to get focused on who they could be once they've healed or who they'll become once they fully trust you. But you need to pay attention to who they are right now, in their actual behavior and choices. Are they doing their own work to address their wounds? Are they taking responsibility for their patterns? Are they showing up consistently even when it's uncomfortable? Someone being obsessed with you doesn't automatically make them a good partner. Someone breaking their promises doesn't mean they're ready for what comes next. Pay attention to whether their actions match their feelings. Do they follow through? Do they communicate well? Do they handle conflict with maturity? Do they respect your boundaries? Do they take accountability when they mess up? If you're seeing patterns that concern you, avoidance when things get real, inconsistency between words and actions, blame shifting, inability to regulate their emotions, take those seriously. Don't excuse red flags because you understand their history or because their feelings for you are intense. Your understanding of why they are the way they are doesn't obligate you to accept behavior that doesn't work for you. 10th principle: remember you're not responsible for outcomes. You didn't make them break their promises. You're not responsible for managing their feelings or engineering their healing or ensuring this works out. You can be conscious, kind, clear, and consistent, and it still might not work. They might decide the fear is too big. They might realize they need more time alone. They might discover that while their feelings are real, the practical realities of your lives don't align, and if it doesn't work out, that's not a failure on your part. You're not required to be someone's happy ending just because they opened up to you. You're not obligated to make their risk worth it by becoming their forever person. Sometimes we enter people's lives to show them something is possible, and then we exit so they can find it with someone else. That's okay. That's actually beautiful in its own way. Your job is to be honest, present, and honoring of both yourself and them. The outcome is beyond your control. Release yourself from the pressure of making this work or being enough or healing them through your love. Just be yourself, the same authentic self that attracted them in the first place, and let whatever wants to unfold between you unfold naturally. If you're receiving this wisdom, if you're feeling equipped to navigate this with more consciousness, type "thank you" in the comments. Let me feel the energy of what's landing for you. And if this guidance is truly serving your journey, if it's worth the time I've dedicated to going this deep, please honor that with a super thanks. It's what allows me to keep creating these comprehensive explorations. Stay with me. What's coming in this final section will help you understand what this means for your larger journey and the person you're becoming. Here's what I want you to understand as we close this conversation. What's happening with this person who swore they'd never love again isn't just about them or even about the two of you. It's revealing something about the times we're living in and the kind of energy that's needed in the world, right? Now, we're in an era where so many people are walking around with walls built so high they can barely see over them. We're in a time when protection has become the default, when vulnerability is seen as weakness, when everyone's been hurt enough times that staying closed feels like the only intelligent choice. The collective wound around love and trust is massive right now. People are scared. People are tired. People have decided it's easier to stay alone than to risk the devastation of being seen and then rejected again. And into this landscape you walk, just being yourself. Not trying to save anyone or fix anyone or prove anything. Just showing up in your natural authenticity, your groundedness, your wholeness. And somehow, your simple presence becomes powerful enough to make someone break the most solemn promises they made to themselves. Do you understand what this means? You're carrying something the world desperately needs. You're demonstrating that it's possible to be real in a world of performance. You're showing that authenticity is magnetic in a culture of pretense. You're proving that being whole in yourself is more attractive than any strategy or manipulation. This is your gift. This is what you're here to offer, not just in romantic connections, but in every space you occupy. Your genuine presence gives people permission to take their own masks off. Your realness creates safety for others to be real. Your refusal to perform creates permission fields where people can just be human without the exhausting choreography. And yes, this comes with complexity. Being this person means you'll sometimes have intense effects on people without intending to. You'll sometimes be the catalyst for someone's transformation in ways that are uncomfortable for both of you. You'll sometimes have to navigate other people's big feelings while maintaining your own boundaries and clarity, but this is better than the alternative. The alternative is dimming yourself down to make others comfortable. The alternative is performing and pretending to fit in. The alternative is playing small so you don't trigger people's vulnerability. And that's not what you're here for. That's not what the world needs from you. The world needs you to keep being exactly what you are, authentic, whole, present, boundaried, and warm. The world needs people who can be simultaneously strong and soft, independent and connected, clear and compassionate. The world needs humans who've done enough of their own work that they can show up without needing anything from others while still being genuinely available for connection. You are this person. The fact that someone who swore off love is now breaking all their promises for you is confirmation of what you carry. Receive that confirmation. Let it adjust how you see yourself. Let it give you confidence in your own presence and power. Now, about this specific person and this specific situation. As we close, I want to invite you into a posture of curious openness rather than attachment to outcomes. Stay present to what's unfolding without gripping it tightly. Let yourself feel what you feel without needing to know where it's going. Give this connection room to breathe and reveal itself rather than forcing it into a predetermined shape. If this is meant to become something beautiful and lasting, it will. Your authenticity will keep attracting their truth. Your consistency will keep building their trust. Your wholeness will keep inviting them into their own wholeness. And at some point, if they're ready, they'll make the conscious choice to fully step into connection with you. They'll stop fighting between their promises and their feelings. They'll integrate the risk and the desire and become someone who's actively choosing you, rather than just being obsessed with you against their will. If it's not meant to last, that will reveal itself too. And it won't be because you did anything wrong or weren't enough. It will be because the lessons you each needed to learn from this connection were learned. And now, the path forward is meant to be walked separately. You'll have shown them that love can be different, that vulnerability doesn't always lead to devastation, that they can open again without losing themselves. And they'll have shown you the power of your authentic presence and helped you understand yourself more deeply. Either way, you win. Either way, you're growing. Either way, you're becoming more of who you truly are. But in this moment, right now, your work is simple. Keep being yourself. Keep showing up authentically. Keep maintaining your boundaries and your wholeness. Keep being clear about what you're experiencing and what you're available for. Keep honoring both their vulnerability and your own needs. Keep paying attention to what your intuition is telling you. Keep moving forward in your own life while holding space for this connection to unfold at its own pace. Don't shrink yourself down to make this easier for them. Don't abandon your own life to accommodate their healing process. Don't become a different person to try to convince them you're safe. The you that they fell for, the authentic, whole, present you, that's exactly who needs to keep showing up. And remember, their obsession with you is actually pointing them back to themselves. What they love in you is often what they've abandoned in themselves. The freedom, the authenticity, the willingness to be vulnerable, the full engagement with life. You're not just a person they're attracted to. You're a mirror showing them who they could become if they stopped hiding and started living fully again. So as you navigate this, hold the awareness that you're serving something larger than just a potential romantic connection. You're holding space for someone's return to themselves. You're witnessing someone's courageous choice to break their own rules in service of something more real. You're participating in someone's transformation from defended to open, from closed to willing, from never again to okay, maybe, with you. This is sacred work, even when it's messy. This is holy ground, even when it's confusing. This is the kind of human connection that changes people at a soul level, regardless of whether it becomes a forever partnership. Walk forward with reverence. Walk forward with honesty. Walk forward with both courage and compassion. Trust yourself. Trust the process. Trust that whatever is meant to emerge from this connection will emerge in perfect timing. You're exactly where you need to be. You're exactly who you need to be. And someone who swore they'd never love again is breaking all their promises because you showed them. Just by being yourself that maybe, just maybe, love could be different this time. That's not a small thing. That's actually everything. So receive this moment with gratitude. Honor what's unfolding with consciousness. And keep walking forward as your authentic self, knowing that your simple presence is more powerful than you fully realize. If this message has touched your soul, if you feel seen and understood in this moment, leave a heart in the comments. Let's create a wave of acknowledgement for everyone who's navigating this kind of profound connection. And if you've been blessed by this deep dive, if it's given you clarity and courage for the journey ahead, please support this work with a super thanks. It truly makes these intensive explorations possible. You're not alone in this. You're held, you're seen, and what you're experiencing is real and valid and significant. Keep being you. That's always been enough. That's always been the answer. That's always been the gift. Blessings on your journey, beautiful soul. May you walk this path with wisdom, courage, and an open heart. And may whatever is meant to unfold between you and this person who broke all their promises for you bring both of you closer to your most authentic, most alive, most love-filled selves. You're ready for this. You've always been ready. Now go live it.